Today I'm going to show you how to use the hue and saturation dialog in Photoshop. Now it's a simple tool, but there are a lot of options that come in handy when using hue and saturation. We're going to show you how to edit colors globally, as well as specific colors, and change just those. We'll also show you the Colorize feature. So let's get right into using the hue and saturation adjustment layer. So the best way to use hue and saturation is to come down here to the bottom right to the adjustment layers and choose hue and saturation. Now right up here at the top, where it comes in by default, this drop down right here says master. And so when you're adjusting the hue, you can see that it is a global adjustment, making these changes to the whole image. Same with saturation, it is a global adjustment. And the lightness, well, it just makes it really bright or really dark. Not real helpful when you're using the master in the drop down. So let's see how we can target certain colors using the hue and saturation. So we have this example here. I'm going to add a hue and saturation adjustment layer. And this time I'm going to use the drop down. If I want to target the reds, I can select the red. I can adjust the saturation. I can even adjust the lightness of that red. I can make it darker, make it lighter. I can change the hue of it a little bit too, but that's red, so I don't want to change it too much. I can change my yellows, add more saturation, greens. You can always change the hue and lightness. So that's one way that you can target. And there's something to be aware of with this hue and saturation adjustment. When I come back in and say I want to change any of these colors, by default, master is selected. I just adjusted the reds, the greens, yellows. But what you have to do is you have to go back into, like, for instance, reds. You can see now there is my adjustment, my yellows, all the things that I changed. So you have to be aware of when you come back in to your hue and saturation adjustment layer, that by default it's going to say master, and you're not going to see all the adjustments that you made before. Also down here at the bottom is the reset for all these adjustments. If I reset that, all the adjustments that I made are zeroed out. And there's another way that you can do targeted adjustments. Let's see how that works. Up here on the top, we have something that is the on image adjustment or targeted adjustment. First of all, what you see, there's arrows that are going this way and that way. So that means that we're going to use this tool and we're going to drag sideways to make the adjustment. So if I click here, those are yellows. And if I drag right and left, I'm adjusting the saturation. I click on the reds here. It says up there that I am adjusting the reds. And again, moving the hand or the finger left and right is my saturation. Now if I want to use that same tool, the targeted adjustment or on image adjustment, hold down the command or control, and now I'm adjusting hue. The hue is sliding now left and right. So I'm adjusting those reds and adjusting the hue by holding down the command or control. If I lift up and slide right and left, I'm adjusting the saturation. So I can go through here and click on all these colors and either adjust the saturation or the hue. And so that's a way to target with the on image adjustment or the targeted adjustment tool. Hey, if you're getting value out of this so far, hit that like button. So I have this landscape photo here. We have all this red back here. I'm going to make sure I reset all this. Click on my targeted adjustment tool and drag, and I am increasing my saturation. Hold down the command or control, and now I'm changing the hue a little bit. I can adjust the lightness, make it, or I'm going to make this a little bit darker. There's before and there's the after. when using this targeted adjustment tool, if any of the reds here in the foreground I really didn't want, that I just wanted to concentrate mostly on those rocks, I could click on the layer mask, paint with black on my brush tool. I could paint everywhere in the foreground where I did not want any of those red changes. So I targeted my reds in the rocks back there. That's before, and there's the after. So now let's use hue and saturation to hone in and really target specific colors. Let's have a little fun with this guy here, this chameleon. They can change colors if they want to, whenever they want to, and so can we. So let's add a hue and saturation adjustment layer. I'm going to use my targeted adjustment tool, and we want to target, say, these yellows here in his tail. And now we have a different tool to work with. Down here, we have these adjustment sliders, and their corresponding color wheel values in degrees appear in between the color bars. Right here in the middle, this inner vertical bars is our color range that we're going to be working with. The two outer triangle sliders show where the adjustments on the color range fall off. So it's a feathering. And the two bars up here, well, the top bar of the slider shows you the colors you choose or target, and the bottom slider shows the color you're going to turn into or the result. So in order to hone in on those colors, you're going to want to bring up the hue and saturation all the way so that you can see, and you're going to need to narrow the slider right here. And you can even narrow the inner slider a little bit. Okay, and I was saying the top slider or the top bar is the color you chose, and the bottom slider is the color it's going to change into. So you can adjust these colors. So you're watching the image, and this bottom color is what is actually selected. So that's what you would watch for when you're trying to select that particular color. So if I bring all these sliders back to 0 and then adjust my hue, you can see I am changing that selected color in just the areas that I want to. And we're going to make him, those yellows actually turn into a lot of green. There is the before, there is the after. So we targeted that yellow that was mostly in his tail. I'm going to use my targeted adjustment tool, and I want to change these reds here. Same as before, I just increase my hue and my saturation, narrow my colors. And so right there, I've selected the reds. You can see the areas here, those stripes that were red, they're now the same color as the lower part of this bar. That's what I look for. Zero these out, and I'm changing my reds that I targeted. So that is targeting to a specific color, before, after. Now let's show you how to use the Colorize option in the hue and saturation adjustment layer. So we have this image here that already has a lot of color in it, but you can actually do some creative things with hue and saturation Colorize. Let's see what we can do here. So I'm going to come down here to the adjustment layers and choose hue saturation. Over here on the left is the properties. If I click on Colorize, this is what Colorize does initially. It changes your image to black and white and then applies one color. So I can play with the hue and bring that to something like 33. Bring my saturation up, something like that. Brighten it up a little bit with the lightness. And as you can see, it's got a different cast over it. It's changed the mood of the image. But this is what Colorize can do. You can get creative with it. What I can also do on this hue saturation adjustment layer is I can change the opacity and bring in some of the color of the image below, something like that. So if I turn this on and off, you can see that I added a different cast and brought in some of the colors that were in the original layer below and made it a totally different photo. And so you can make a creative choice like that. If you want to know more about Photoshop, click on this playlist here. If you haven't already, subscribe and like this video. And remember, it's never too late to learn. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.